They called it a crime scene unlike any other. Police officers who had seen everything said this one stayed with them. A quiet street, a modest home, but inside, something that would haunt investigators for decades. Neighbors whispered, reporters swarmed, and detectives struggled to explain what they uncovered. Some say the echoes of that night still linger in the shadows of the house itself. But what really happened there, and why did no one ever forget? Tonight, we step inside the murder scene that even hardened detectives could never erase from their minds. Don't miss out on the next chilling mystery. Hit subscribe and tap the bell icon so you're the first to know when new stories drop. At first glance, the house seemed ordinary. A place where dinners were shared, children played, and life unfolded in the most unremarkable way. But behind those walls lived a family whose story would soon grip the city. The father, a man of quiet determination, worked long hours at a nearby office. His wife, graceful yet reserved, carried an air of unease that neighbors later recalled but never questioned. Their 2 children filled the street with laughter, masking the tension inside. On paper, they looked like the picture of stability. But small things began to surface. Arguments muffled behind closed curtains, unexplained visits from strangers, and a police car occasionally parked out front. Nobody thought much of it then. The turning point came one late evening when the family's lights burned long past midnight. A neighbor, stepping outside for fresh air, noticed movement in the upstairs window. Just a shadow at first, then a flicker of something darker, something that didn't belong. By morning, the home that once blended into the background would be the center of a nightmare, and investigators would soon discover that the ordinary was never what it seemed. Detectives arrived at the house just after sunrise. From the outside, nothing seemed unusual until they stepped inside. The air felt heavy, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. In the living room, chairs were overturned, and a framed family photo lay shattered on the floor. The home, once orderly, now looked frozen in chaos. Neighbors gathered on the sidewalks, whispering. Some swore they had heard muffled shouting the night before. Others claimed they saw a stranger walking down the street in the early hours. But no one could agree on what they saw or when. As investigators moved deeper into the home, the unease grew. A child's toy sat abandoned at the bottom of the stairs, as if dropped mid-play. Upstairs, the parents' bedroom told its own story. Drawers yanked open, clothing strewn across the floor, and on the nightstand, a half-finished glass of water, still faintly warm. Forensics uncovered strange details that didn't fit. A muddy footprint near the back door that didn't match any family member. A torn piece of fabric clinging to the fence outside. And the faint smell of smoke in the hallway, though nothing had burned. Every clue pointed in a different direction, yet the feeling was the same. Something terrible had happened here. But what unsettled detectives most wasn't just the evidence. It was the silence. No sign of struggle outside. No forced entry. No neighbors who had seen someone leave. The house itself felt like a riddle, and the deeper they looked, the more questions it seemed to create. By the time night fell, officers left with more theories than answers. And behind closed doors at the police station, whispers began. Was this an act of violence, or something far more chilling? Days stretched into weeks, and investigators began to lose hope of finding clear answers. But then, a single discovery changed everything. Hidden beneath a loose floorboard in the parents' bedroom was a small box, dusty and carefully concealed. Inside were letters, receipts, and photographs, pieces of a secret life no one outside the family had ever imagined. The father, once thought of as hardworking and ordinary, was connected to a trail of debts, shadowy business partners, and whispered threats that reached far beyond their quiet street. Those late-night visits from strangers weren't random. They were warnings. Detectives realized the chaos in the house wasn't random violence. It was staged. The shattered frame, the overturned chairs, the scattered clothing. It was all designed to look like a desperate struggle. Someone wanted investigators to believe in a break-in, when in truth, it was a carefully planned cover-up. But the most chilling discovery wasn't financial at all. Among the papers was a journal belonging to the mother. Page after page hinted at fear, secrecy, and a plan to protect her children at any cost. She wrote of being watched, followed, and pressured into silence. And just days before the crime, her final entry ended with only 3 words: "It's happening tonight." The family everyone thought they knew was not what it seemed. And the crime scene that looked like chaos was, in fact, a stage hiding a deeper betrayal. Years have passed since that night, yet the memory of the case still lingers like an open wound. The father's secrets unraveled in court, tying him to a network of debts and threats that painted him as far more than the quiet man neighbors once described. But his fate was sealed long before the trial. His disappearance, vanishing without a trace, left more questions than answers. To this day, no one knows if he was silenced by those he owed, or if he simply ran, leaving everything behind. The mother's journal became the emotional center of the case. Her words, trembling with fear and determination, revealed just how much she tried to protect her children. Yet her own disappearance that night left a haunting silence. With no body ever recovered, speculation has never stopped. Was she a victim, or could she have orchestrated a desperate escape? The children, once the innocent faces at the center of the tragedy, are adults now, living in anonymity. They've never spoken publicly, choosing lives far from the shadow of the house where their childhood ended. Their absence from the public eye only fuels curiosity, as though their silence is part of the mystery itself. Even today, the house stands, worn but intact. Some say it carries a presence, that anyone who steps inside feels the weight of something unresolved. Investigators, retired and gray now, admit it remains the case they could never quite put to rest. And so, the story lives on, not just in files or news clippings, but in whispered conversations, in the memory of neighbors who still walk past that house, and in the minds of detectives who wonder if the truth was ever truly uncovered. Some stories fade with time, their details softened and forgotten, but this one refuses to let go. The unanswered questions, the vanished father, the missing mother, the silent children, still hang in the air like shadows that never lift. Investigators can close files, courts can move on, and neighbors can rebuild their lives, but the truth remains just out of reach. Maybe that's why the case endures, because it isn't just about evidence or timelines. It's about the chilling possibility that even the people we think we know best may be hiding lives we can't begin to imagine. Behind the walls of an ordinary home, a secret world existed, and when it collapsed, it left only echoes and uncertainty. And so the murder scene that no one could forget lingers still, not just as a moment in time, but as a reminder. How well do we really know the people closest to us? With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.